Good evening. Good evening, Savannah. Good evening, Savannah. Good evening, Chatham County. And good evening, Coastal Georgia. We're coming to you live on WJCL 22 News for the Georgia Democratic Gubernatorial Candidate Forum. Tonight, you'll hear, as you can see, from all 7 of the Democratic candidates who want to be Georgia's governor. It's part of the Savannah Debate Series, and we begin with the forum. And WJCL 22 is a proud, exclusive TV partner. A Republican forum will take place at a later date and time. These important events are made possible thanks to the Savannah Area Chamber of Commerce, the Greater Black Chamber of Commerce, the Democrats of Chatham County, and the Chatham County Republican Party. We want to show you some video if you're watching us now on WJCL 22 and also on our mobile app and on our live streaming platform, the order of the candidates and how they are seated. They were selected by random ballot that happened here in the well of the church at 5:30. The order of the seating goes as follows. We will have Derek Jackson. We will then have Ola Brown. From that, we'll have Michael Thurman. And then we'll have Keisha Lance Bottoms. And then we'll have Jeff Duncan. And then Jason Estevez and Rua Roman. Am I correct? Everyone mentioned. Okay. I want all the candidates to pay attention to the timekeepers that you see there in the middle of the aisle, because your time is very important. The candidates, we need you to keep a close watch because you'll have 1 minute for opening statements that will begin in just a second, 1 minute to answer questions directed to you and the others, 1 minute for closing remarks, which I understand in politics is called closing the deal. So let's begin with an introduction, starting with candidate Derek Jackson, and then proceed down the table. Again, 1 minute. Sir, begin.
Thank you, Greg. Good evening, everyone. My name is Derek Jackson. John Lewis once said, when you see something that's not right, we have a moral obligation to act. I'm running for governor because we have a leadership gap where accountability is missing. We do not need a celebrity or a career politician. Georgia needs a qualified commander-in-chief and chief executive. I served during my tenure at GE a $1 billion portfolio that covered 162 countries. I'm also a retired lieutenant commander. I served 22 years in the United States Navy. I'm running for governor because I continue to fight for our rights. Georgia is a $73 billion operation. That's CEO work.
Candidate Jackson, thank you very much for your opening remarks. We go down to candidate Brown.
Hello, my name is Olu Brown. I'm excited to be here today. I'm running for governor because I'm an everyday Georgian, and I believe that Georgians deserve the very best. I'm a father, I'm a husband, so I know what it is to be a provider and a protector. I'm a small business owner, so I know what it means to meet payroll, and I built one of the largest congregations in the state of Georgia with a multi-million-dollar budget and a multi-million-dollar payroll. My whole life has prepared me for this very moment. I know what it feels like to drop a kid off and look at them and wonder if you're ever going to see them again. I know what it feels like to wake up before payroll day with a lot of stress. And I also know what it feels like to sit across the table from a family going through a traumatic experience. I'm a builder, I'm an architect, I'm a designer. Help me build Georgia's next chapter. My name is Olu Brown, and I want to be your next governor.
I'm Mike Thurman. I formerly served Chatham County and Coastal Georgia as your labor commissioner and as your DFACS director. And I am ready for the fight. I said to my friends and family and people all over this state, number one, something must be wrong with me. I'm not discouraged. I'm not downtrodden. I'm not fearful about tomorrow. The one thing I know is that we don't have to make America great again. America has been, is, and will always be the greatest nation on the face of this earth. I come to say to you today, let us rise to this occasion. Let us stand up. Trump is in the White House, but God is still on his throne. And if I know that to be true, I know we can rise and we can win. Thank you.
Good evening. I am Keisha Lance Bottoms, and like so many of you all, I woke up the day after the last presidential election wondering what it meant for me personally, my family, my community, and my state. And then I prayed, and I asked God to show me what I would be called to do in this season. So after a lot of prayer and careful consideration, I am offering myself as a candidate for governor. I served as mayor under the first Trump administration, so I know what it's like to have to stand up and fight against a bully. I am here back in the ring wanting to fight on behalf of all of you to expand Medicaid, to eliminate state income taxes for our teachers, to ensure that we have affordable housing, and to support our small businesses. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you very much. My name is Jeff Duncan. It's been nearly 30 years since a Democrat's been sworn in as governor, and we can all come up with our complicated reasons why that's the case. But the reality is it's pretty simple. We haven't gotten enough votes. To be a governor in Georgia, you've got to win more than your base. I'm building a coalition big enough to do that between Democrats, independents, and disgusted Republicans to show up and for the first time in nearly 30 years, vote a Democrat into the governor's house. You know, to win, we've also got to be focused. This Democratic Party from top to bottom has got to be focused. We've got to meet a majority of Georgians where they're at. I'm focusing on the affordability crisis, the healthcare crisis, and the Donald Trump crisis. You know, there's some skeptics in the room. I used to be a Republican, and I understand there's some skeptics. But I want to make sure you understand I haven't lost my mind. I found my heart like many of you. This is a process that we've got to win, right? If the next governor is not sitting on this stage, then Donald Trump becomes our default governor. Thank you so much for your consideration.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Jason Estevez, and I'm running to give the hardworking people of this state a fair shot. I know that Georgians are sick and tired of working harder than they've ever worked and barely getting by. And it's because of politicians like Donald Trump and my opponents, both Republicans and Democrats. And in times of crisis, I've always run towards the fight, and that's what I'll do as governor of this state. I'm from the south side of Columbus, where I was raised by two parents who didn't go to college but taught me everything I needed to know. Love my God, work hard, and leave my community better than how I found it. It's those values that I took with me as a middle school social studies teacher, as a state senator, and as chair of the Atlanta Public Schools Board of Education. I will focus on what matters: your health, your wealth, and your opportunities. As governor, you can always count on me to stand up and fight back against Donald Trump and make sure that you keep and grow the money in your pockets and our children have more opportunities than what we've had. I look forward to earning your vote.
Good evening, everybody, and thank you for having us tonight. I'm State Representative and candidate for Governor Rua Roman. I was raised here. My dad is a farmer here, and my grandfather is buried here. I love this state with all of my heart, and I firmly believe that we deserve so much better than what we've gotten over the past few decades. The reality is we need somebody who, yes, is willing to fight, but actually has been in the fight. And it's why I'm running for governor. Because I want to take homes back from corporate landlords. I want to raise Georgia's minimum wage. I want to reopen hospitals. I want to press pause on data centers. If you do me the honor of electing me as your next governor, I will use every tool at my disposal to complete our platform and make sure that Georgia is a place that we can afford and where we belong. So thank you.
Candidates, before we get started, a reminder: 1 minute is non-negotiable. Let's keep to the time. Let's get started and cut to the chase. Governing under the Trump administration, what strategies would you employ as governor to navigate the relationship between a blue-led state and the Trump administration? Candidate Roman, we'll begin with you and then go down the line. 1 minute for your answer.
Yes, sir. Thank you. So what we're seeing right now in our country is a travesty, and it is dangerous for so many people. And I want to be clear, I am not somebody who's ever looked for a fight, but I'll never back down from one. And so that's why if I'm governor, I will use every tool I can at my disposal to protect Georgians. And that includes working with every office in our state, whether that's the Attorney General, to sue when the Trump administration takes away our tax dollars that we already paid to feed hungry kids. That includes suing the Trump administration if they bring down the National Guard, because that's what other states have done and have successfully gotten them removed from their states. That includes making sure that every Georgian knows their rights, no matter where they are or where they come from, or how little or how much money they have.
Look, I'll work with anyone across this country who wants to bring good paying jobs to the state, who wants to ensure that our children are receiving the resources that they need so that they can get the education that they deserve, and who wants to expand access to health care. But I will tell you, I do not like what Donald Trump is doing to this country and is doing to the state. You will never see me stay silent while Donald Trump hurts Georgians all across the state. Brian Kemp's silence has not helped farmers who have been impacted by Hurricane Helene, has not helped our public health system and our CDC workers, has not helped cities whose grants have been pulled. I will always stand up and fight back against Donald Trump, not only by speaking out, but also making sure that we use every tool in our toolbox. I'm gonna sue the hell out of them to protect us, and I will also make sure that we use all the legislative tools that we need to ensure that Georgians are protected from the chaos and destruction that's coming out of Washington, D.C.
Hopefully there's no doubt in this room that I'm willing and able to stand up to Donald Trump. I spent this week in Washington, D.C. speaking at the January 6th committee because telling the truth still matters. Donald Trump is a disaster. He's toxic. He's created a culture of violence. We've watched it play out in these ICE raids. But we've got to have honest umpires as a governor. We've got to be willing to stand up to a bully. We talk about the problems that we have in the state, the affordability crisis. These are Donald Trump's issues. He cares more about stealing oil from Venezuela than he does about tackling the issues of somebody walking into that grocery store down the street and can't even afford to buy all their groceries or can't even afford to pay for rent. We talk about health care. Everybody sitting in this room is in the midst of a health care crisis. We need a governor who's willing to stand up and be bold. I've talked about having a $1.7 billion rainy day, we have a $17 billion rainy day fund. Let's take 10% of that, $1.7 billion, and help people that need that one jump start out, that lower cost for housing, that child care help. We can do better than Donald Trump, and we will do it here in Georgia. Thank you.
I don't have to dream about fighting against Donald Trump. I've already done it and won. When I led the capital city of this state, when the Trump administration would not allow officers to wear body cam cameras when they were assigned to federal task force, I made the decision to remove our officers. It then resulted in the Trump administration changing their policy across this country. When ICE could not give us assurances that we would not be complicit in the family separation policy, I made the decision to close our jail to ICE. Cities across this country followed. That means, as governor, I will continue to stand up to Donald Trump to the extent that we can pick up the phone and have a reasonable conversation or meeting that will help on behalf of Georgia. I'm willing to do that. But when we have to fight
Candidate
back,
Bottoms,
I will
thank
lead
you.
the charge.
I will fight Donald Trump, but know this, just because people fight against Donald Trump doesn't mean that they are fighting for you. I will fight for you. As CEO of DeKalb County during the pandemic with Trump in office, we created a partnership with farmers in South Georgia and once a month fed 5,000 hungry families for 4 straight years. As the superintendent of DeKalb County Schools with a Republican governor, we've saved our accreditation, increased graduation rates and test scores. As the DFACS director, when they tried to take away benefits from hungry families, we created a system that helped welfare-dependent families, 90,000 families, get back to work. Yes, I'll fight for Trump, but more importantly, I will fight for you, because that is the most important question we face. Not who you're fighting against,
Thank you so
but
much,
who are
sir.
you fighting for?
Well,
my experience has been with community and people. There's no way in the world that you build one of the largest congregations in our state without working with diversity. And often people who are very mean, people who struggle with isms, and people who have great differences. But I was always able to find common ground. So what will I do with Donald Trump? I will work with Donald Trump in Washington where I can, but I work for Georgia, and I will always work for each and every one of you. As a builder, I will build a firewall that protects us from Donald Trump, his antics, and his chaos. When he brings chaos, I'll bring calmness, because my job as the CEO of this state is to protect every Georgian.
Yes, I will also fight against Donald Trump, but I will continue to do the things that I have been doing the last 10 years, and that's fight against these Republicans. Donald Trump is not the reason why Georgia is experiencing a minimum wage of $5.15 the last 24 years. Donald Trump is not the reason why we have 82 counties that you cannot find an OBGYN. Donald Trump is not the reason why we have 67 counties you cannot find a pediatrician. We have to continue to fight. Yes, fight against those in Washington, D.C., but also fight against those who are right here in Georgia. I will stand up for families. I will stand up for our constitutional rights, and I will make sure that our service members, those brave men and women, will not get misused and abused like they are by Governor Kemp right now. They will not be sent to another city in another state, and we're paying $1.4 million per day. That's the misuse of our military members. I will fight against everyone that's going to have a negative impact against our families. Thank you.
Candidates, the next question is housing and affordability. According to Realtor.com, the median listing of a home price here in Savannah, Georgia, $399,000. Average rent for an apartment, $1,800. For many young people in Georgia watching us right now throughout the coastal Georgia and the Congressional 1st District, those prices and those costs simply not affordable. How do you plan to address the escalating cost of affordability, rising costs as the future governor of Georgia? And on this time, we are going to change up the order. Brown, go to candidate Olu Brown, all the way down to candidate Roman, and then back to you, sir. Sir.
You know, over the last year,
Again, I wish to remind you, 1 minute for the answers.
Well, over the last year, I've had an opportunity to come here to coastal Georgia quite often, even to the mountains north of us. And housing and home ownership is a major issue. What we're discovering is a lack of affordability for first-time homeowners. And so we will cut through the red tape and make more housing available for first-time homeowners. We'll also take a look at retail spaces that are defunct and malls that are no longer operating. And we will bring together builders across this state to develop single housing developments for nurses, people in the academic world, and make sure that they can afford their houses. We'll also create a $15,000 home down payment advance for teachers, not only to live in the communities where they work, but also to build in the communities where they work and where they live. We will attack housing affordability head on, and we will make sure everyone can live the American dream here in Georgia.
Affordability is about home ownership and renters. During the pandemic, I set up a program where we distributed $55 million in rental subsidies to renters in DeKalb County. We established a Home South DeKalb, a fund of $20 million that has allowed scores of DeKalb County residents to purchase homes. When I become your next governor, on day one, I will issue an executive order and transform our Department of Community Affairs so that our local leaders, Mayor Johnson and others, are not working alone to create affordability in our communities. Look, this is a critical moment in the history of our state. It's not about promises, it's about performance. I will get the job done. We will change and fundamentally shift how people afford to keep a roof over their head, renters and homeowners. I know we can do it because I've done it before.
There was a study done by Georgia Tech that showed there was a shortage of 41,000 homes in coastal Georgia. There are things that we can do immediately to address that. One being helping invest in infrastructure in this area, making it easier for people to build in this area, making it easier for people to access grants. When I had the opportunity to lead our capital city, I created an affordable housing trust fund so that people who do live in their homes can avoid rising property taxes. Also, we can make it easier by helping people to clear titles. If you inherited a home from your parents or your grandparents and you don't have clear title, it is impossible for you to refinance that home and often access grants that are available.
I talked about for a minute that my political switch, I found my heart. And this is one of these issues, right? Everybody in here is involved in a crisis for your housing, right? Whether you live in a house, trying to afford a house, trying to find an apartment. But the people that I'm most heartbroken about are the working homeless. There are literally people working 2 and 3 jobs. In Atlanta, I heard a story last week about women and men having to take baths in the public restrooms at the airport because they're working so many jobs and because they're working homeless. We've got to use the $17 billion that we have in the state's rainy day fund. We've got to use some of those to drive down costs, but we also have to be creative. Savannah alone, I was down here a few weeks ago and had the honor of touring the Dundee cottages. It was an amazing, everybody in this community, in this center should be watching this community work. We should work with Mayor Dickens has got an incredibly creative housing programs. We've got to be creative, but we also have to pay attention at the state's perspective. As governor, this will be an area of opportunity for us to actually lead the country.
Look, housing is a problem all over the state, whether you want to buy a home, rent a home, or downsize your home for our seniors. As governor, I'm going to do what should have happened a long time ago, and I'm going to stop private equity funds from buying up all of our single-family homes. I'm also going to make sure that we work with city and county officials to cut the red tape and make it cheaper and more time efficient to build homes. I also want to get creative by increasing our affordable housing fund throughout the state so that we're building more affordable housing. We need housing of all kinds, the micro affordable housing for those who are homeless, but also family homes, homes for those who are middle income and higher income. At the end of the day, what we need is leadership. That's what we're lacking down at the state capitol, someone who is focused each and every day that they're in office on making life more affordable for the hardworking people of this state, and I'll do that when I'm governor.
You shouldn't have to get lucky to be able to buy a home, but that is the reality for way too many families here. And if I'm elected governor, I will use every tool at my disposal to take homes back from corporate landlords. There's a reason this is a key plank of our platform. Because without housing, so much ends up falling off the rails. You can't get to your job because you're trying to figure out where your next meal is going to come from. You can't get to your job because you don't have a home to be in. You can't get mail. There's so much disruption that happens. And so as governor, I want to take away the tax breaks that these corporate landlords get. I want to increase tenant protection so that way they can't just keep exploiting Georgians. And last but not least, when we talk about cutting red tape, we need to cut red tape for cities that are currently not even allowed to track where these homes are being bought up in their own cities. And so it's important to be specific about why that crisis happens, because you can increase supply, but if there is this venture capitalist corporation coming in and buying up all that supply, then you're just frankly right back at square one.
Listen, I'm not here to offer empty promises. I'm here to offer opportunity and hope. The last 10 years under that gold dome, I continue to introduce legislation to help deal with affordability and increase minimum wage. For example, when you look at House District 68, where I am, we witnessed a $2 billion increase of economic development projects in the last 10 years. $400 million in infrastructure, and 30,000 jobs. With that came all various types of housing. We made sure that we had a homestead exemption to make sure our seniors are not taxed out of their homes. We also made sure that there was availability for those young professionals who are not married, yet to have children. We want to make sure that they have something too. And then last but not least, we're sitting on a $14.8 billion surplus. I will carve out another $1 billion to assist those. Now you got to apply, it's not automatic, to assist those who desire to have a house.
Candidate Jackson, thank you so very much. When we come right back, the candidates will continue answering your questions as we focus on the issues that matter most here in Southeast Georgia. You're watching the Savannah Debate Series on WJCL 22. We're back right after this.